Module 6. Emergent Change. In this module, we will look at emergent change, including adaptive systems and complex responsive processes, the future state, and leadership in emergent change. Holland, 2006, describes complex adaptive systems, CAS, as systems that have a large number of components, often called agents, that interact and adapt or learn. Some examples quoted by Holland are financial markets, the internet, and the body's immune system. This model also offers a helpful way of looking at organizations and change. Organizations consist of many agents. These are people and groups of people who work within the same definite, bounded organizational space, and who are interdependent. Organizations are complex. They are structured around, perhaps even formed by, the many daily interactions between these people and groups. The interactions follow a set of formal rules and systems, together with a range of complex social and cultural conventions. Organizations adapt. The patterns of behavior driven by these rules and conventions tend to self-organize and mutate over time. Moreover, the patterns, and the rules and conventions themselves, adapt and change in response to events which occur in the course of the interactions. From the point of view of organization change, this suggests that organizations will naturally change and adapt over time. It also suggests that all people and groups, agents, in the organization will contribute to that change, intentionally or otherwise. New approaches emerge best when people are well-trained, highly motivated, and have the freedom to try things out. Empowerment. The tendency to self-organization leads to change that bubbles up, often with similar elements emerging in pockets around the organization. Any action that helps to shape such contributions in ways that align them with change objectives will be beneficial. Detailed planning may not be possible, but by working through networks of influence and advocacy, emergent change can be encouraged and shaped. Stacy writes, making sense of organizational life requires attending to the ordinary, everyday communicative interacting between people at their own local level of interacting in the living present. This is because it is in this process that the future is being perpetually constructed as identity and difference. Across an organization, the interaction of these unpredictable gesture-response cycles will create small changes, like waves on a shoreline, or larger ones, like tides and storms. Stacy identifies three dynamics that affect these interactions and their outcomes. How people relate to each other, formal role relationships and informal personal relationships. How aware people are of the impacts of their interactions, the degree to which they are conscious or unconscious of these impacts. How people define what is and is not acceptable in the public space of the organization, the things that are legitimate, socially accepted, or shadow, less socially acceptable, such as gossip. Each of these three dichotomies, formal, informal, conscious, unconscious, legitimate, shadow, continually exerts its own pull on the direction of the organization's development, much as the moon's gravitational pull moves the oceans and creates tides. This means that change and development is seldom linear, because these three influences are sometimes aligned, creating large effects, and sometimes opposed, almost canceling each other. In managing a change process, it is wise to be aware that every conversation, every interaction has the potential to shift the course of that change. It also means that it is unwise to overreact to the ebb and flow of particular events, but to keep clear about the overall direction of travel. It is necessary to be prepared to rebalance communications, and to engage continually with networks of influence across the organization, in order to ensure that change continues to move in a desired direction. When is an emergent approach needed? An organization change can usually be identified with one of two main archetypes: swift and sudden. A short period of turbulent, typically imposed change designed to deliver quick results, often driven by threats to the organization's continued success or survival. Developmental and deliberate. An extended period of patient work to build the organization's culture and capability. These two types of change are not mutually exclusive. Elements of both approaches may be seen in any particular phase of a change, though one or the other usually predominates. A change that can readily be seen within Gareth Morgan's machine metaphor, such as the implementation of an IT system update, can generally be implemented in a swift and sudden manner. Changes such as these may contain much detail complexity but are not ambiguous or uncertain. They respond well to a planned change approach. Any change that is necessary for the organization's survival is also likely to be swift and sudden and will similarly be managed as a planned change. On the other hand, it is the nature of culture and capability to build over time, through a developmental and deliberate approach. Although the desired direction may be clear, the precise route is likely to be less so. Deviations and explorations are a common feature of culture change journeys. In such circumstances, a more emergent change process should be expected. Defining and moving towards a future state. The complexity described earlier in this section does not mean that change managers and organization leaders are powerless. It is possible to describe and define the direction of change that is required, and to identify indicators which will show that progress is being made. This can be achieved through this four-step process. 1. Start by deciding on the big picture change, which would bring great rewards to the organization. 2. Look around the organization as it is now and list all the current consequences of that change not yet being a reality. 3. As an exercise in creative imagination, step a few months into the future organization after the desired change has occurred and list all the outcomes. 4. Identify the differences between the lists both in objective, numerical measures and in the more subjective, informal, behavioral indicators where precise measurement is difficult or impossible. This process, especially if conducted with a group in a facilitated workshop, can yield powerful results. It clarifies and makes real the future state, in terms that can be described effectively to others. It also identifies those leading measures, indicators and markers that will enable all involved to track progress towards the desired state. #Leadership in Emergent Change. Leaders cannot succeed in promoting deep, emergent change and transformation simply by more planning. However, leaders can be intentional about their own words, challenging existing paradigms and supporting new ones. They can be sure that their own actions model consistently the new expected behaviors. These are some key guidelines for providing effective leadership in emergent change situations. Accept the limits of what it is possible to direct and control. Changes in values and behavior are seldom linear or fully predictable. Notice where the energy of the systems and people is currently focused and the outcomes of this. Talk widely throughout the leadership community about any different outcomes that are desired. Think in systems terms about the reinforcing and balancing systems you can identify. As far as possible, get the leadership community speaking with one voice about the desired outcomes. Make changes that you as a leadership community consider likely to shift the current equilibrium, enhancing some positive feedback loops and mitigating some negative ones. Maintain a high profile for the desired outcomes. Keep discussing them in the organization at every opportunity. Observe the effects of the interventions you have made, especially the direction in which the system is moving relative to your desired outcomes. Keep repeating the last 3 preceding actions, holding firmly to the non-negotiable outcomes, but negotiating other issues as necessary. Celebrate and mark milestones on the journey. Remain open to new information that may lead to redefinition of the desired direction. Please take a few moments to consider the following. Question 1. How might the 3 models of change benefit organizations going through these different changes? A major restructuring arising from a merger with another organization. The adoption of a new corporate enterprise IT system. Realignment of people, process and systems to reflect changes in an organization's marketplace and customer needs. Question 2. How does your organization respond to change that emerges? How adaptive and responsive is the organization, its processes and systems? End of module. In this module, we have discussed how to best work with emergent change and how to align your business with it. We've discussed systems that can be adopted to achieve this and how to identify when an emergent approach is needed. We ended the module by looking at the key guidelines for leadership in emergent change. In the next module, we will be looking at key roles in organizational change.